Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. A ghost has returned back from the past, and to some people that could be an overstatement. We've seen the return of Justin Roy, unfortunately, and they've had some things to say, some of which is rather shocking, eye-opening, and very bold, as in claims and demands. So join me today as I defend myself and respond back. However, of more importance beside that individual, I will be giving an update in regard to my 2026 outlook on the Noah Presgrove case. What's gone down, points, topics of interest, my stance, my opinions on the situations. A little backstory to all that is, all the videos that I do, single-handedly keeping his case alive on YouTube specifically, there's a lot of perspective, there's a lot of consideration, there's a lot of different thoughts to take in mind, but at the cost of putting my opinions at times on the back seat. Whilst I'm covering it from all angles, I might not always have my raw thoughts. But in fairness, I think some people may be a little bit entitled, and other outsiders really are ignorant and neglect that day in and day out. I am giving my opinion. I am giving my analysis. My analysis is my opinion, and it's with common sense. So I don't understand why some humans do go on and say, you're not doing this, and where's your opinion on that, etc. There's a time, there is a place, and there is a moment for it. And guess what? It's right now. Okay? So no distractions about, no noises, no cretins, just warlike wrath locked in as usual. Okay? So, welcome. If you are currently here watching the live premiere, share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat box on the right side of the screen there. And at any point, if you have additional comments, questions, answers, follow-ups, whatever it is, and those watching on catch-up, be sure to drop a comment down below under the video, as it will help with keeping the case alive, spreading awareness, and maybe starting off new discussions, and we'll see where that goes. If you'd like to support my channel and the work that I do on the Noah Presgrove case and to keep on going, if you want, there is a PayPal link down below in the comment section, pinned message. If you want to support me, that's the most practical way to do so. In addition, if you simply want to catch up on recent videos, if you've missed out on anything, don't worry. Full playlist on Noah Presgrove is located top right corner, just up there. You click on the I symbol, drop down menu box, full playlist and the odd loose video attached. And as well, in addition to last night, if you missed out last night's video, it's nothing short but life-changing and deep and impactful for the right reasons in understanding, perspective, and solutions. If there's a time and place where you need it, feel free to check the video out from last night. And ahead as we go along, I've got some other videos to get through. I would do a community post, but YouTube supposedly limits it to every 3 days of a notification. So not everyone's going to be notified of when things are coming. So just know that tomorrow I will do another psychology-based video tomorrow, and then the day after, probably Noah Presgrove. I'm just going back and forth just so it's not too heavy, because I know one psychology video after another can be very heavy and just a lot to take in and overwhelming. When it comes to me, I've got stamina. It's fine. All under control. I could do it every single bloody day if needed. Honestly, I could. But not everyone may be on the same wavelength, so ease it, do it bit by bit, step by step, right? Follow that steady process, just like the Noah Presgrove case. A steady process in a chaotic world. It can be a microcosm of life. It could be a microcosm of someone who's seen it themselves. True crime, more so online communities, even other communities out there on YouTube, don't really matter what platform, there can be chaos. If you can weather the storm and have your own methods and ways about it. That is what matters, and that's what's being demonstrated here. So today I want to give my thoughts, opinions, reactions in the Noah Presgrove case, where things stand, my outlook, what I think. I know Justin Roy was demanding extensively, erratically, passionately, really demanding for me to answer questions. I will answer questions in my own time and when I'm able to, and not when an entitled person barks, okay? I hope people understand that. There's a process to it all. And I'm going to go through a range of different things today, some more important than others. The things on the sideline others may have not considered or thought of since. It's a collection. What I will also do is take a look at some screenshots later. So it's not just going to be all my face, don't worry, you won't have to put up with this all the time. But I'm going to head on over to some screenshots and photos and just analyse them as we go along, but that'll be a bit later on. So just be sure to stick around, relax, or do whatever you need to do. If you want to engage with the chat, engage with other people, conversations about the case, and even other stuff, you're welcome to do so. And if you just want to react, that's also good as well, okay? So, where do we start? In no real particular order, the dove hunt. I think that's kind of important in a way. More so because it's a grey area. Now, it's an area which Justin had touched upon in the past, trying to figure out who was there at the hunt and then who was associated with the party. The dove hunt event took place from Friday to Saturday, and both those 2 days the party was ongoing and from Friday starting up. Whilst Noah Presgrove may have not attended, any other person that may is somewhat important. When it comes to firearms, though, is it such an event where they have their own, give them to the people that come along? I know some hunts, maybe you can bring your own firearm. I'm not too sure, I can't fully remember. The reason why I say that is if it's not bring your own firearm, they provide them. There's no point any partygoers coming on down with firearms then. You know what I'm saying? You know, Brylan Sweat, Isaac Rojas, Jack Newton, the only ones we've ever heard that had firearms on them when at the party house property. Out of the 30 to 40 supposed party goers, how many more had firearms with them, and why exactly? I mean, without thinking too deep, showing up to a party with a firearm sounds chaotic, it sounds unusual. What's the intent behind bringing it with you? Personal protection? Messing about with? Target practice? Hunting? On property? Was it thought out exactly? From a 12-gauge shotgun to a hunting rifle to an AR-15, I think, with a thermal scope. What's going on? With the dove hunt, firearms being used there, I'm just trying to figure out, is there a correlation between bringing your own to that event and then when leaving, coming on down to the party while still in possession of the firearm? That would make sense as to why they were present. And it was like on the way back from an event, calling in at the party and leaving the items there until it was time to eventually go home. I get that. But is it for definite that's how it was? If it's not, bring your own, they provide, it's pointless then, it doesn't make sense, and less likely taking firearms to the party because of the hunt. It would be for separate reasons, you would think. But if by any chance that it was bring your own, out of all the party goers, how many attended the dove hunt on both days or one of the days, and how many returned or visited the party house after the dove hunt whilst in possession of a firearm? Because the initial intent of owning and having one, carrying and not being drunk should be somewhat okay, within reason. I'm no expert with laws over there, but if you're doing everything right in how it's carried and handled and all that, and you're not drunk, should be okay. But then the moment alcohol comes into play, social hosting and all that, possession of firearms and drunk, that's a bit of a no-go. That's a bad situation. But if one came first before the other, the initial action, you could argue, under certain conditions, no harm done, no problems caused. But the alcohol part, the enabling factor, which then made a normal thing either illegal or against certain laws and rules. But still, if people have the responsibility to carry firearms in the first place, a dangerous weapon in the wrong hands of people, of course, but to have such a responsibility in carrying a firearm like that and likely loaded as well in some way, they should also have the responsibility and the ability to drink responsibly or not drink at all. I know the age that they are and what's going on at the time, and there's no police presence in the moment. It'll be like, who cares? Who's going to know? Do it. Why not? Enjoy it. Have fun. Be wild. You can think of all the typical lines and responses, but it's just interesting. Like, this is the thing. When it comes to certain perspectives, people say, why are you focusing on Kaden? He's not linked to Noah's death, so there's no reason to consider him or talk about him whatsoever. Just leave him alone. Leave that all alone. It's only the equivalent of the same people that say that who are also obsessed about the firearms and the guns, that push, push and push. And yet, supposedly, the firearms, for most part of it, have nothing to do with Noah's death. Even if there was a form of murder, Noah wasn't shot, and normally when there's a firearm involved, that's what's commonly the outcome, being shot, a discharge, on purpose or by accident. And now you could argue that the stock, the butt of a rifle or gun could have been responsible for causing the tear scalp area. But then people are pushing the golf club idea that that's what caused it and not a gun. I would say, in my opinion, if I had to pick between the two, under the conditions of murder, I'd say it's more likely a golf club would have been used on Noah's head rather than the stock of a gun. Whilst I can understand the stock of a gun could have been used as a way of avoiding noise, the bang sound, so no one's alerted, done in a silent way. A golf club can do the same thing, and it's its primary use. When people have items to choose between, from a golf club to a firearm, how are you going to use a golf club on someone? Swing and bash and hit, pretty much, because that's all you can do with it. But a firearm, what is the primary thought that may go through a person's mind, as in, I'm using this on someone or for self-defense? Are you going to turn the gun the other way around or hold it differently and start using it as a club? Or are you going to use it as it's mainly intended, its main purpose, the trigger? I think it's self-explanatory. And even in the heat of the moment, are people going to consider, right, I've got a firearm with me, I might use it on Noah to cause that injury up there, but even though the primary use is to shoot, instead, I'm actually going to use it as a club because I don't want to cause too much noise or too much sound. Hello, if there's murder going on or a beatdown, I think there's probably going to be enough noise already. If there is a scuffle, if there's any screaming or shouting, if that was true, I'm sure a firearm wouldn't be the end of the world. The loud bang might actually silence and blur out all the other noise and end that noise quicker if the person's shot. By using a club or a melee item on someone, it might not be as noisy, the impact, but the reaction from the person, if it's not an instant death, could be loud and deafening if they're screaming out for help. If a person is shot and it's a clean ending, there's no time to make noise. So you've got to think of the external sounds that can come from the victim. And as well, just in the heat of the moment, is someone going to consider, right, I'm going to use this firearm in a different way just so I don't make too much noise? Are they really going to stand there and use introspection and psychology to figure out and calculate what's the best ratio and the most successful rate in being able to, end an individual, get revenge, or do it for a certain unknown motive without anyone being alerted? Is there really going to be enough time to think and consider all that in the moment? Likely not. Whatever's used in the moment is probably going to be used, and probably for its primary purpose, to get maximum efficiency and practicality out of using a said item. Okay, so this wasn't even on the list today, but I thought I would add it in under the conditions of murder, conditions, a theory, what's more or less likely to be used, golf club or clubs or a firearm. And I would say a club, not for all injuries, but maybe for the head. Firearm, main purpose would be to pull the trigger, Clearly, Noah wasn't shot, so likely not used, but they were present at the party. Or there's at least a piece of evidence to suggest that, as in Isaac Rojas, 1:05 in the morning, Monday, outside front porchway, talking with Avery, holding his 12 gauge shotgun and inquiring supposedly about going out and using it. But Avery was like, no, I can't allow that. We don't know where everyone is. You know, we need people to be safe. Why would Avery consider that at 1:05 in the morning on Monday, but not consider what happened Sunday afternoon, evening time, when you had Kaden, Noah, Jack, Brylan, Isaac, and any other names I've not mentioned, that went out shooting animals? How come they can do that then with no problems, but then when Isaac wants to do it on Monday, suddenly Avery's like, well, we don't know where everyone is. Well, where is everyone then? Where could people be? If they're not at the house, where else are they? What Avery supposedly said there, or how people interpreted it through either lip reading, which would be impossible because her back of head was facing us, maybe trying to listen into the whispers and the talks in the background. If it was accurate, let's just make that clear. If it was true, does that mean that Avery was indirectly suggesting that partygoers and friends and anyone else may have been on site at the property but hanging out elsewhere at another property, another house, trailer, in the field, spread about? That would be interesting, that level of activity. Okay, Noah, Brylan, Kaden, Avery, Isaac on the front porchway, the front of the house. Where's everyone else? Where's Pepe Graham? Where's Justin's nephews at that moment? Were they spread about? Were they hanging out elsewhere? And no, it's not an attack on people. Not all about you. It's about figuring out where people were at certain times for Avery to possibly consider it's not safe to use this firearm. Not safe for one person to use a firearm on open land, well, private, and yet it was supposedly acceptable and safe for a group of people with more than one firearm to start shooting about, in a field, when even at that time people could have been spread about. But no, it's only Monday. Does anyone else pick up on that? Monday, not allowed to do this, but Sunday, yeah, you can. Based on interpretation and what I can remember from conversations, if anyone had interpreted it different, that Avery said something different and Isaac didn't question or push too hard in using the firearm. But considering he had it out with him, holding it while standing casually and talking, it's really the only hard evidence that we have of a firearm present. Was that same one present at the dove hunt? Who knows? It depends if it's bring your own or they provide. If they provide, it's pointless bringing your own. Unless you think, I'm going to the party, but first I'm going to the dove hunt. I'm going to bring my own, not for the dove hunt, but for the party after. Besides shooting, there's other things to do at a party, right? Well, maybe it depends from location to location. But any other firearm references, only Kaden Pressy, but that was after Noah's death, when Kaden said he got a handgun or a pistol for personal protection, and that when it came to the Netflix and he was willing to wire up to get the truth out of people, I think he also mentioned about joining them because Netflix or some crew had firearms or they were doing target practice, and Kaden thought it'd be an opportunity to tag along and then maybe add in with conversation and communicate with different people. That's just from what I can roughly remember. But look, when Justin Roy was trying to get answers from people from the Dove Hunt, the organisation, the group, those who work for it, those who are a part of it, is Stevie Howard a part of it also? Correct me if I'm wrong. And some other guy. Justin trying to ask question after question on Facebook and didn't receive answers. It became a broken record. But to be honest, the way Justin acts in his behaviour at times and his entitlement, his attitude, his bombastic bull in a china shop approach, I'm not surprised people don't give answers to his questions because he can be a little full on. There's a time and place for everything. And, ultimately, if you push in too hard, you might push the other person away or get their back up against the wall where they're not willing to communicate with you. I think at times, Justin, you need to be a better communicator, especially in tense moments. If this was some kind of like hostage negotiation situation, it would be a grave failure. Because psychologically speaking, Justin, at times when you had your back against a wall, when other people were attacking you and insulting you and harming you, I was there at the forefront, not paid, not supported, no donations, absolutely nothing. And I was the one that gave you advice. And it just so happens that it's as proof and documented on my channel and still to this day on my channel. I gave advice on what to do, what not to do, how to improve oneself, how to avoid conflict, how to deal with the situation better next time, how to look for patterns and trends on who to trust and who not to trust, how to avoid being backstabbed, how to get your point across so people believe in you, hear you without, discrediting you or mocking you. I went into such great depth and detail, and you chose not to listen. And instead, ever since, you've turned in different ways, and it's been very unfortunate. But don't worry, Justin, you're not the first person, and you won't be the last in terms of declining advice from me, because let's just do a little history lesson as well. I want to make this very clear, crystal clear, okay? Just focus in with the lighting. Okay. So months ago now, pretty much, it was months ago, there was a fellow viewer on this channel called Cleo. And when they had a bit of a moment as they showed themselves up and were acting in an unnatural, unnecessary way and breaking boundaries and respect towards me, maybe towards other people, towards someone, and so on, that I spent the remainder of my live stream one evening when it was late at night, when I was tired, I needed sleep, but I decided to forego that to try and calm the situation, but also keep it somewhat under control. I dedicated the remaining 30 minutes to an hour having a one-to-one with them, granted in a live stream, to ask them questions, to provide perspective, and for them to improve and change their ways naturally, not by force, but by suggestion, so they better themselves, so it's less conflict for me as well. It was taken in consideration different angles, that their coldness, their heated moments, their changes in temperature emotionally, and their attitude to me and the false claims they said to me, such as in the past, they made false claims of, you're controlling, you're a bad person. Me, that's what it was aimed at. Even Cleo went as far and accused me of gaslighting, and so on and so on. Those type of claims and labels can be extremely damaging, especially towards a creator or a social media influencer, because with having an audience and a variety of people present, and more so new impressionable viewers, if they hear those false claims and labels associated with me, some may believe in it and some may change their outlook towards me. So it can be very damaging, and that's what I had to put up with. Not as of 2025, not just as of 2024, but dating back to 2022 and onwards. Wasn't all the time, but it was just here and there. There's little sly digs and references and claims and labels. They were a supporter on the channel. So understand it's an awkward balancing act. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be disrespectful for a person showing support. But then at the same time, I shouldn't have to put up with such behaviour like that aimed towards me and the labels too. So it was a difficult balancing act. Had to try and contain it. So I thought that if I provided perspective towards Cleo in a live stream to calm the situation so that they would change for the better and that they would treat that other person with respect to privacy, that someone, with more respect, because how Cleo acted at times, not just towards me, but more so towards another person, was 100% out of order. It was completely unnecessary. So I went through the depth, I went through the process, I provided the perspective, even CBT as well, in a natural, warlike wrath special way, and so on. Hearing them, listening to them, providing perspective back and forth, allowing them the space to talk, to breathe despite everything, and see if they would change. On the sideline, there were some viewers that were like, they're not going to change, they're being a knob, they're a problem, and so on. And in that moment, yeah, but to me, it was like, this backlash by other people is only going to push this person away further, as in the progress. Let's not ruin the progress. Let's not ruin this moment, because if it can change, if things can improve, if they can see things differently, that's important for the sake of everyone, really, and some. So background noise by people saying, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's silly, it's pointless, that does not help the situation whilst I'm trying to conduct something. Let's make that clear. That external chatter, if it's done out of care and consideration to me, I understand that and appreciate it. But if it's aimed at the other person, it's not helping the situation. I am trying to keep it under control. I am trying to find a solution. The external noise does not help. Let's just make that clear for future references as well. If there was ever a repeat elsewhere with complete strangers, okay? Just note that down. So by the end of it, did they change on the spot? They did. They apologized. They respected another person, which was good. But it only lasted for a few days, and then they went back to their old ways. Of course, you can't fix someone. And possibly in the mind, that's what I was trying to do. That might not be the best thing, it might not be the most practical thing, but it was a genuine action, and it might have applied other times as well, way back in the past, elsewhere. It's just like, if there's an ability, if there is a method, I should apply it, or I should try to. Why not? Not everywhere, but here and there, when it's needed or when it seems right. But obviously, their problem, however they're doing whatever they're doing right, but it's just that action of just total disregard of the time I put up and the perspective and help and support that I gave, and it was just gone to waste. And in some ways, back in 2021, same exact situation there too, okay? It's not a means of me sacrificing myself and all that. It's just that in the moment when it seems right or the right thing to do, in the moment naturally, and then upon reflection afterwards, you could say, may have been a waste of time. Was it a waste of time? The Cleo situation, arguably yes, but at the time it didn't seem like it. And it was more so damage limitation, and so no other people were caught up in the mess. Okay, beside what I went through and how I was treated, is the other people around that watch the channel. It's about trying to contain and solve the problem without immediately just blocking and kicking, because that's an easy thing to do, but it's also, it could get to the point where it's a bit trigger happy, as in what you do and when you do it, it can be a bit over the top. So it's like, try other solutions first, and then at last resort, then maybe consider. I know some people could say, why haven't I blocked Justin Roy on this channel if he's harassing or constantly coming back, complaining, and just so on? The reason why I wouldn't block Justin Roy is because this behaviour and all their comments need to be documented along the way. You know, the wild claims, the false claims, levels of narcissism, and saying, because of me, that's why you're getting money, you know? That type of behaviour, making it all about money, focusing all on that, focusing all on the negatives now and not the positives, for the time of when I did cover it from their viewpoint and I did defend them when their back was against the wall. Times have changed, perspectives and outlooks have moved on a wider scale. So by moving away, Justin either has got a bit jealous emotionally that I'm not there by his side anymore. I'm not his emotional blanket anymore because I've looked at it from other perspectives. However you interpret it, it's that typical emotionally biased behaviour. Total disregard of everything that I did in the early days. Total disregard of all the positives and just focusing in on only the negatives. In similar fashion, separately, That type of mentality, focusing in on all the negatives despite what someone does for the positives, is like a bad relationship by a bad ex-partner, where a person or a survivor may give their all, may do something very nice, a kind gesture, a romantic response, and then what does the other partner do? They react by saying, well, you could have done that better. Well, that still needs cleaning up. That's not good enough. And it's like, what about the positive, the main thing, the actual action? You don't consider that. You don't appreciate that. You look for problems. You look for things to solve when they don't need to be. You look for what's broken and not what's fixed and what's right. That is the type of mentality. Emotionally biased or emotionally corrupted because of other issues going on in here. Different reasons, different problems. So you can see these constant links. Even when I do the psychology videos, the constant links with the cases at hand. Mikey Lair, PTSD, Kaden Pressy, seeking therapy, onwards. The invisible effect and impact it's had on other partygoers like Avery, Carter, Logan, Jasmine, and anyone else. In what they've seen, what they've heard, what's been said about them. It impacts people in different ways at different times. What Justin Roy has gone through, but then what I've gone through. We're not all on the same level. We may not all be labelled or considered as victims or seen that way, but we've all, or quite a few people have gone through certain patches of resistance or things going wrong. But it's not a matter of we're all doing it to one another. No. Don't be grouping me in the same boat as other humans, okay? That's exactly what people did in the Dylan Rounds case after years of biting my tongue and ending up being right about what I said and what I believed in, and so on, and predictions along the way. But at the end of the day, the cancerous, disease-ridden humans had the cheek to say, we were all in the same boat. We all cared at the end of the day. No, you didn't. Okay? Know your place, know your role, and don't forget where you once were and how you once acted. Because if you forget, oh, don't you worry, I will remember. I never forget. Okay? So, with that being said, perspective given, this has all just come from one point, the dove hunt. Might be a bit of a long video in a sense. Let's try and keep it somewhat controlled. At this rate, might need a little bit more water. If there's anyone that needs to get a drink, feel free to do so. Water, whatever. But what I would say is the dove hunt appears to have grey areas. The correspondence, the personal representatives that may have been sent out and deployed to get answers clearly had failed in their approach and negotiation in terms of asking questions, demanding answers. Bridges were burnt down already. That is unfortunate. But granted, if there was any awkwardness, stubbornness from the dove hunt people, those that worked there or in charge of it, if they didn't give clear answers or they didn't even consider to begin with, under those conditions, they would be just as problematic, if not more. Let's not forget, Friday, whether you want to include the dove hunt or you just want to refer to the party, the beginning of it, we never hear anything about the party on Friday, as in who was there and what happened. Even if Noah Presgrove had only started coming on Saturday onwards. Kaden, well, he says he was there Saturday. Alicia said he was there Sunday early morning when he arrived. Kaden had said in the police interview he was also there Friday. So, brilliant, isn't it? Oh, I got there Friday. No, I got there Saturday. No, my mom said I got there Sunday. You do realise that's discrepancies, right? Oh no, we can't talk about that because it's Kaden Pressy. He gets a free pass. And if we do question him, it makes us bad people. If we question Kaden Pressy, we're basically covering up for the murder of Noah Presgrove, right? Yeah. If we question a valid point, it means we're being paid off. What? Exactly. That is the stupidity, the idiocracy of what we're living in at this moment in time and in the past. But I should make one thing clear. I've not had to put up with what other viewers have had to put up with. People watching right now or in recent time and those in the background, what you have had to go through, how you've been kicked, how you've been blocked, how you've been removed from pages, comments you've left, things you've responded to, how you've been alienated, how you've been mistreated, tossed aside, kicked to the curb, put down, questioned, maybe belittled, insulted. All what you have gone through, you have experienced much earlier on compared to me, because me earlier on, I was covering it from the side that may have been responsible for what you went through. In a sense that what I was covering, because I was in their good books, there was no reason for them to come after me, you know? The moment I was removed from the army page, it was because I read out a comment on Reddit in which other people were claiming Melissa LeQuay, if that's how you say their name, the one that was arrested, an advocate for Noah, was also a part of the army page. Was it the truth? Supposedly not. Did I say it as the truth? Did I start it? No. Did I spread it? Not in that sense. I read a comment and I responded back with, well, where's the proof? I can't believe in it until I see the proof. Justin used or received a screenshot, a transcript from my video, and decided to use only one frame of a conversation without the rest of the transcript, which was from the same video where they got a transcript from, but they chose to only use one screenshot, one snapshot, and that was it. Justin's defensive line was, well, I didn't take the screenshot, someone handed it to me. It shows how lazy Justin Roy is. That all you have to do is go onto my video, transcript, move the timeline playback bar across, and then find where I say what I say with the full context. But Justin chose not to do that. He was a lazy person and only stuck with one screenshot without questioning it any further and just accepting it for what it was, because it, from that one screenshot, it somehow portrayed me in a negative light, and to him it was music to his ears. Anything bad on Raf is good, because I don't like him anymore. So if you find something, even if it's out of context and it's bad on Raf, then I will use it and I won't question it, I won't vet it, because if I did, it might turn out it's not true and it's taken out of context, and then it means my point doesn't stand true, my fantasy doesn't stand true. One massive mistake by them and the army page, and their reaction to me was kick him from the page, block him, remove him. There's a fair chance I would have been removed regardless based on how things have gone since, but for the reason at the time, it made no sense whatsoever. To put it in a nutshell, I was removed from the army page because I read a comment by a complete stranger on Facebook in which a person had stated Melissa LeQuay was from the army page. And my response to it in the same moment and breath was, I don't believe in it until I see proof. So I was on side of the army page at the time. I was defending the army page at the time, and I got blocked and removed for defending the army page. I've been casted aside and verbally assaulted and labelled every word under the sun by some, like Justin, even though I was the one that provided the psychology and perspective. Now, I know other people have had it rough and worse than me, but surely you can see my reality in life at times is rather perplexing and unusual. I do everything right, and yet the worst happens, or a small-scale bad thing happens. The response by it just makes no sense based on the action that I did in the first place. They can say every action has a reaction, so why does a good action have a negative reaction? And it's like that most of the time. It doesn't make sense, but this is my reality, and it's a bit of a joke at times, is it not? But that appears to be the pattern in true crime communities. It's just something that I have adapted to, which I'm not as surprised by now, but every now and then it can be a bit of a surprise, depending on the stupidity of the situation, the response, the motive, and the reason behind it. Let's make that clear. Anyway, beside the dove hunt and the grey areas and the mystery, because it is one, even if it doesn't link directly to Noah, it's a part of the timeline. Granted, it is a separate event and it is a separate location, but there still seems to be some appliance. What I do find interesting, though, is there are other areas in the Noah Presgrove case in which people from the army page, the light side, may not believe in or consider or say it's not right. It's manipulated. It's not true. It's a false narrative. It's corrupt, being paid off. All that. But let's make one thing very clear. When it comes to other areas in the case which have more appliance in terms of geographically speaking, socially speaking, the relevance, there is more link there than the dove hunt, because the dove hunt is actually in a different location, possibly with different sets of people and a separate event, basically. And if it was true that firearms were to be provided and not for you to bring your own, then it would kind of make it even less relevant in a way. But I'm not going to be the one to just toss it aside. I still think there is importance behind the dove hunt. And if there's grey areas and questions and answers weren't given, just like the side-by-side rollover, the details of that, just like some of the details from the party, the shower and so on, if simple events or irrelevant, unlinked events can be so complex for getting answers, maybe with that depth, there is more to it. There's more secrecy behind it. The more secrecy, the more it seems like people have to hide. And if it turns out to be genuine and innocent, well, it's their problem. It's on them that they made it out that way. You know, when people dig themselves into a hole, I mean, at one point, Stevie Howard didn't do herself any favours in the early days, 2024, I believe, where she said, well, if us parents are so bad giving a scenario, that if we were responsible, we would have done a better job at disposing of Noah and you wouldn't have been able to find him. Okay, it's giving a scenario, a suggestion, as a counterpoint to what people truly believe, as like it's just negative in what people believe, suspicion. But the thing is, what Stevie Howard was doing at that time was indirectly, psychologically, emotionally demonstrating a form of self-fulfilling prophecy, acting out in the way other humans want you to act out to gain a reaction. When people see you as a monster, the one thing that they want from you is to act like a monster. So they will push, they will prod, and they will poke till you break, till you reach that limit. And if you do retaliate or react, you're caught in the act, you fulfilled that prophecy, that label given to you by someone else. Chessboard. It's a chessboard. And I don't think lots of people understand that. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how it is. And to some, they play the game blindly. They don't know what's ahead. The reality is, I've seen this chessboard many a times in the past. And for most humans, it's not really ended up in their favour. And the last person was still standing. You know? So, with that being said, moving on to another point, what needs to be addressed is, you know, partygoers which have gone under the radar, and that would be, for example, Stephanie Millan, sister to Jasmine Millan, sister to Jade Millan, but Jade wasn't at the party, only Jasmine and Stephanie. Stephanie's boyfriend was supposedly there as well. Renee Millan stated, which was different to what Kaden originally stated when it came to showing up at the party post-death of Noah. Kaden originally had said 6:30, Renee showed up, and only Renee Millan, I believe. Renee, from her point of view, said, no, I showed up around 7 in the morning onwards and came down with my husband, with my daughter, Stephanie Millan, and Stephanie's boyfriend, meaning Stephanie Millan and her boyfriend had left the party earlier at some point and decided to return back post news of Noah's death. How did Stephanie Millan and the boyfriend arrive and leave from the party? Maybe the boyfriend was driving, could be the case. But isn't it interesting how someone like Stephanie goes under the radar? Oh, because they're innocent. Well, they could well be innocent, but it's just the questions of why does an innocent person go under the radar, but another innocent person is put under the spotlight and questioned beyond? And I know people could say, yeah, exactly. Why is everyone going after Kaden Pressy? Why all that? Well, there's probably more than one innocent person besides Kaden Pressy. Let's just make that very clear, okay? It's not all about Kaden. There are other people as well that may have been dragged through things and are innocent. I mean, you could argue JJ Bumpaz in how he was dragged through by the Covent, which co-connected with the army page. Great, isn't it? Yeah, really good. Doesn't give a good name to certain people, does it? When in association and behaviours like that at Covent. Kaden Pressy, friends with JJ Bumpaz. The Coven, in connection with the army page, supporting Kaden, whilst also dragging JJ through the mud when Kaden is friends with JJ Bumpaz. How does that work in internal conflicts of affairs? Total incompetence. Burning bridges down. And guess what? You know which bridge remains strong? You know which bridge out of everywhere, which brought people together, was my channel on a specific day in 2024 later on, in which Kaden Pressy came to my channel in the live chat live premiere, and JJ Bumpaz showed up too, I believe. They came together for the first time in a long time post-death of Noah Presgrove, and they said, hoping, to each other, wishing each other well and wishing things were different and, becoming friends once again, that connection. Do people not understand how important and like a turning point that was? JJ dragged through the mud, who wasn't even at the party. Kaden Pressy has been questioned with time and possibly threatened, but coming together on my platform, which I provided as a premiere, an open ground for JJ to connect with Kaden unexpectedly, even share about events, reminiscence, reflect back, like the lake trip. JJ said, on the day of Noah's death, and Kaden said, no, I believe it was the day after. Really? But still coming together, being friends, being friendly. JJ saying, well, I couldn't be around Kaden because of what's going on in the case or so, keeping the distance. But look, you know why else it's a turning point? Because Kaden Pressy lost, not literally, just take that in mind, but in a sense, as a headline, Kaden Pressy lost everything, as in contacts, as in friends. And I'm not speaking for Kaden, I'm simply saying what's been stated already from different points of views, in some ways from what Kaden said, what Alicia may have said, and other people and representatives, that once Noah's death came about and Kaden gave his timeline and accounts on stuff and his beliefs, people cut ties with him, or he cut ties with them, or the mother stepped in and played a role too. Either way, disconnection, loss of friends, isolation, etc. doesn't do people much good, does it? Yet my channel, my platform, well, not my platform, I don't own YouTube, but my channel, my platform as in the live premiere structure, is what brought Kaden close to a long time or a previous friend because of what I provided at the time, okay? All through the Noah Presgrove case. So whilst people like to push the idea of money making, manipulation, vindictive, corrupt, paid off, dark side, bingo, full house, let's not forget, what has this video, what has this channel, what has this done? It has brought people together. It's brought disconnect to connect. It's acted as a bridge, a gap, a distraction from what other people may be going through day to day. So I think a lot has come from this, besides the negative outlooks. But as I said, a person with an emotionally challenged mind isn't going to see it that way. But because I've got it under control, I'm going to weigh up the positives and the negatives. I'm going to present it right now, exactly what I have done. But when referring back to partygoers that go under the radar, under the rug, not questioned enough, innocent or not, Stephanie Millan is a prime example. And I would like to know, both from the dark side to the light side, and I don't care if people get petty with that categorization term, I use it for efficiency and effectiveness, and it's proven time and time again with all the videos that I've done and previous cases. If anyone's got an issue, leave a comment down below and I will guide you to the Kenny Veach case and the labeling and the processing there, which has held it all together, as I said, all under control. But in terms of the light side to the dark side, why don't people go in and question Stephanie Millan? I'm not saying that it should be done or like some kind of direct action call to arms, but I'm trying to question and figure out, if people have that energy or that mentality to go after, to question, to consider, to look at other angles and people, why does Stephanie get a free pass? Why are they not talked about? Look at it this way, okay? Some Texas boys and Justin's nephews may not get talked about as much because there's not much material to work with, unlike Kaden Pressy, unlike Jack Newton to an extent, and Jasmine Milan, okay? Because they've put themselves out there, or someone on behalf put them out there. There's more to scrutinize, criticize, question, compare, contrast, and so on. Stephanie Milan, is there much to work with there? Absolutely. Originally, no. But what someone did, may have been Vanessa Salazar, not guaranteed, but that's what other people have said and claimed, where Vanessa, at the time, when present, had used a fake account, a default account. Quite interesting, isn't it? Vanessa and some that sided with Justin, Army Page and all that, and Vanessa supposedly had to use a fake account to get answers, whilst being supported by the same people that call out people for having fake accounts. It's okay to have a fake account if it's for Noah, if it's for justice, but if it's a fake account against or as a counter opposition, different perspective, no, not allowed. Fake accounts shouldn't be present to begin with, to be honest, if you want to put it that way and be balanced. One rule for one rule for another. Oh, here we go again, the double standards. Look at this, I'm picking it up all on the spot. Double standards, time and time again. But supposedly Vanessa Salazar, or at least another person using a fake account, pretending to be someone else, claiming to be a friend of Noah Presgrove, when they, if it is Vanessa, never knew of Noah at the time, never was around Noah at the time. I'm surprised Justin or other people didn't get insulted and said, how dare you label yourself and associate yourself with Noah? You don't know Noah. You've never been with Noah. You don't. Oh, but you know what? We're not going to call you out for falsely labeling your status with Noah because, you know, you're doing it for justice, right? You're using a fake account. You're being manipulative. You're being deceptive. You're being sly. It's very manipulative and dark, that. But because you're using it for the good and not for the bad, we'll let that one slide. We'll turn a blind eye. We'll forget about it. Okay, it's one rule for you. That's fine. Anyone else does it? No, they're out. Hypocrisy, double standards. I'm seeing it all. This is what I mean. I am the master of picking out hypocrites and double standards. The absolute master with what I've seen, what I've encountered with time. Now, beside that, the answers what the person got from Stephanie were interesting. It's what later triggered the response by Colton Newton, of all people. Don't be reaching out to the Milans again, because if you do, I'll find you. And I think some swear word used as well. Colton, aggressive and threatening, did himself no favours, totally unnecessary. Why does a Newton step up and defend a Milan? Interesting. Is there any leniency by Justin towards the Milan family because of married into a family of a family? I can't remember. I know Justin had also said, whoever it is, they need to be punished and there needs to be justice. If that's so, at least that's balanced by him. It's just a shame the other areas aren't fulfilled as well. But it is where it is. Anyway, with the responses by Stephanie Milan, it opened up some questions and important considerations. I did a video on it, people did see it, but it's not been talked about since. So there is material to work with. There is something at least on Stephanie Milan and, you know, what they witnessed or what they didn't. And yet they just don't get talked about. There's no references. If it's about Jasmine Milan, that's all it's about. It's no mention of the sister, the other sister that was there, as in Stephanie. So I'm going to do a separate video, a recap, and let's see what happens. If there's any more answers, any conclusions, any updates, why not? Someone needs to. I'll be that person. Right now, we just need to focus on the rest of the list. So, Kaden Pressy's accuracy, what's my opinion on that? You know, is Kaden Pressy a liar, or does he simply make mistakes like other people do? The thing is, sometimes mistakes can appear as lies, and lies can appear as mistakes. Sometimes it can appear as it's done with intent when it's not. Other times it's done without intent, but it actually is. It can be very confusing. Let's just put it that way. So trying to determine what's what and what's really going on and the true motive, there can be blurred lines and big misunderstandings. I would say, for most part of it, Kaden Pressy, if anything was wrong, if there were discrepancies, which we have documented that, it's more so Kaden Pressy being confused or making mistakes, memory-related issues, which could be a trauma response, it could be brain fog, it could be any of that. If Kaden required therapy, if that links back to the Noah Presgrove case, and it's had a bit of an impact on him, or at least at one point it did, it's worth taking into consideration, like with other people as well. Memory can be impacted, and sometimes when dealing with the unknown or there's grey areas, the person may fill it out with their own conclusion, fill it out with their own thoughts for closure, even if those extra details that have been added in aren't the absolute truth, or they may not be quite relevant to what was actually happening at the time. But they're doing the best that they can, and mistakes are made and can be, and it's not ultimately their fault. But it's still important to highlight the mistakes and discrepancies, because if you don't, it'll go into a snowball effect of false beliefs, misunderstandings further down the line, and total confusion. Is that what you really want? Don't you want the case to be clear, crystal clear, for there to be clarity, understanding, and not the complete opposite? Innocent person or not, if mistakes are made, they need to be corrected. Innocent person or not, intent or accidental, if updates need to be provided by them, corrections need to be made, then that's what should happen. If Donna Bond, not even a part of the case, had made mistakes along the way, and they corrected their mistakes, owned up, made updates, apologised, then why can't other people do the same, especially those within the case? Could it be that Kaden Pressy hasn't made changes, hasn't made any acknowledgements, hasn't set the record absolutely straight, because what he originally said, he still believes in, and he's not come to that realization that he might have got something slightly wrong along the way, or what he said at one point is different to what he said later, and it's hard to know which one's the truth and which one isn't. What's said in the early stages could be the truth. What's said later, which differs, may not be the truth, and because of memory and time and trauma, things may have been blurred and adjusted incorrectly by mistake. But because we've got two different stories by the same person, which one are we supposed to believe in? The earlier one or the latter? What's important is for the person that said it in the first place and the discrepancies to finalize and say, oh yeah, what I said earlier, that's what I meant, not the thing that I said later, or what I said at the beginning, I didn't know all the context. What I learned later on, I knew the truth, and that is the truth. Kind of like Donna Bond, supposedly. What she heard, what she stated, what she passed on, in the end turned out to be incorrect or completely. Made changes along the way and said, that wasn't the case, that wasn't exactly true, I own up to it. There needs to be a finalization, a conclusion to a chapter of a book. It's remained left open and incomplete. That's a problem. Innocent or not, incomplete, different stories, different perspectives by the same person, and figuring out which one of the stories and perspectives is the truth and which of the others are lies or simply mistakes. Kaden says he was there Friday at the party. Kaden said he got there on the Saturday. It's either Friday or Saturday when he first arrived. Which one was it? Kaden gave two different stories there, didn't he? I believe Kaden also mentioned there was 30 to 40 partygoers in total, or at some point. He said, oh, it was a Saturday. Then in a different interview, he said, oh, it was Sunday. It was one or the other. Which one are we supposed to believe in? These discrepancies by Kaden may be accidental and they're not done with intent. Okay? Not the end of the world, but it is confusing. And it seems to be people that want clarity, people that want answers, people that are confused are being demonized because it's in association with Kaden Pressy. It's like when you attack a god or when you question a god, oh, you're suddenly a bad person. by the religious people, by the followers. Whenever you question or cast a bit of doubt or you want some confirmation, you're now deemed as an outsider, a bad person. How dare you question this God? How dare you question this saint? How rude of you. Blasphemy. The followers push you away, set you aside. Have a go. That's what we're seeing here. Is this some kind of false prophecy? Is this some kind of weird religious cult disguised and masked? I think something much darker is going on, and the people a part of it don't even know that they're a part of it. Some very dark, underlying, weird situations here. But look, maybe psychologically speaking, it can be explained. Whether you call it a cult, whether you call it some man-made fan fiction or fantasy, some parasocial connection, relationship, feeling all the good, seeing all the highs, not considering the negatives because it breaks that illusion, it breaks that fantasy, it breaks that bubble. I mean, it's not on the same wavelength, but like with friendships and connections and groups, some people who might get hurt or let down by someone, they don't focus on the negatives when it's what's caused all the problems. They focus on the positives, even if it's a tiny grain, holding on to the positives to maintain sanity without going insane for the shit that they've been put through and how they've been treated. So I'm just wondering, is that another aspect? People focusing all in on the positives only because if they focus on the negatives, it will break them. That's what I'm thinking. It might go on to a deeper level there. But I do think, besides the discrepancies, there have been moments, standout points where Kaden Pressy's accuracy has been rather good. Supposedly from the limited material that he has seen or been shown, whether it be a long or very short video like the Kathy Bingham one, even though Kathy Bingham said she never had a video, at the least had a live photo, which is a photo with a few seconds of movement like a video. Not much really going on, but if that's what Kaden saw, or he saw something else, Kaden mentioning, I saw this, I saw a police guy, bold, maybe in a Newton, saw a volunteer firefighter or two, saw some clothed individuals, I think, saw the badge numbers and gave them or suggested examples. That's a great level of detail after enough time passing by. You know, what happened in 2023, September 4th, to when Kaden Pressy recounted it in June of 2024, 2023 to 2024, and Kaden was able to remember the badge numbers when there was more important things going on in that evidence and material. There was more to focus on at hand, and yet Kaden picked up on the tiniest of details. Very important and critical. It's just interesting how Kaden's brain supposedly works. Now, at times, it can just be the case, and it might appear contradictory how a person can be so active and alert at a moment, and yet other times the complete opposite. How a person could appear very functional and operational, and then other times or in other places, they're not present. They're not quite there. It's like two complete opposites, but in parallel to one another, associated with the same person. It can leave outsiders scratching their heads, wondering, who is this person? Who are they really? And it just so happens that both versions of that said person do exist and coexist. It might depend on the environment, the time, and who they're around. It might appear on the mask, the performance, and just the memory in the moment and the flow. They may have a good day, they may perform. They may have a bad day, they may underperform. On one day, they're more accurate. On another day, they're not as accurate. Some people can remember the tiniest of details but forget the critical pieces. Some people can find the easiest things in life most difficult and the hardest, most challenging moments in life easy. Some people may not be able to communicate or struggle and be shy with icebreaker questions and small talk, but they're very good at the emotional side, the intimacy, or even the deep conversations. It can be all over the place. And sometimes it's hard to take it into mind. So I'm just wondering, is Kaden Pressy kind of like that? He remembers the fine print, the small details, the things that most people wouldn't pick up on. But then the other stuff, he doesn't quite remember. Or along the lines of that. I think it's a bit deeper than what people suggest. Let's just put it that way. But what I would say is, what we need to acknowledge with Kaden Pressy's accuracy, the discrepancy doesn't help, right? Besides material evidence, what he may have seen, just what he's been told, or what he's remembered, and then how he's passed it on from one interview to another, it's not always aligned. So there's been some strengths, there's been some weaknesses, but that can be with anyone. It could apply to other people too. We only work with Kaden because there's more material. If there was more material elsewhere, I'd do the same thing. Justin Roy and other people that say, don't go after Kaden, go after others. Well, if the material's there, sure. It ain't, is it? Not to the same extent. What can you do? You could suggest things and have rough ideas, but if there's no material to work with, it's very loose, isn't it? And it's good to work with material screenshots from their point of view, what they originally said. If there's anything else to refer back to there, I'll add on. But moving on, in terms of some of the key points and areas, I'm sure some people have been scratching their head thinking, when are you going to say the real important stuff, as in what's your opinion and stance on the case? What's your opinion on the wrongful death lawsuit? Because some people are absolutely fixated and obsessed beyond limit when it comes to demanding answers. A repetitive, broken cycle, I would put it. So, what's my thoughts? In my opinion, at this moment in time, and it's not changed since back then, I feel that party hosts were present, party host did exist, and party host need to take accountability and own up to that. Not literally directly for Noah's death, but the build up to it, at least in regard to the venue, the alcohol, distributing or simply allowing it, and even allowing the likes of Brealey, Georgia to show up. Keeping them there for their own safety, but not considering in calling their parents or family so they could be picked up and taken back home. I understand why it wasn't done, but I also understand why it should have been done for the sake of protecting themselves and doing the right thing, or the correct thing, The host, to my knowledge, would be Avery Combs or Avery Howard, Logan Jernigan, Carter Combs, as they lived there and likely set the party up. It has been said in recent time in the live chat that they weren't the host. Well, if there is hard evidence to say someone was the host, a completely different person, if anyone can provide that evidence, feel free to reach out. If not, to my knowledge, at this moment in time, and as I said in the past, the host need to face the consequences to an extent. Okay? Someone, from my opinion only, someone or some people must have had to have hosted the party under the definition of hosting and the location and the venue. So someone's got to take accountability there, or some people. And I guess the wrongful death lawsuit gives that, as in the names of people, Avery, Carter, and Logan. If there's counter evidence to say they did not host it, then let me know, provide the evidence. Because without it, how am I supposed to believe in it? Okay? So, is that clear enough? Does that people give wet dreams? Oh, finally, the person's agreed upon it and accepted that. Or are people going to find something to complain about? Oh, Warlike Rafa agreed that there needs to be a form of accountability with the social hosting and the host themselves, but Warlike Raf said to an extent, and Warlike Raf didn't acknowledge that they're 100% responsible for Noah's death, so it's not good enough in my eyes, not good enough in my books, because it's never good enough, is it, for some people? No surprise there. This is what I mean. People are going to get fed up with me. Because of the video? Not quite. Because of my stance on things? Not quite. Because I am doing the conversation for them. Before they even get the chance to leave a comment or message or reach out, I'm already talking and doing their work for them. I am being their personal petty complainer, attacking myself in a conversation which hasn't even happened yet, but I know how it will go. And they will say, you took the words right out of my mouth. How did you know what I was going to say? How do you know what's on my mind? It's because I seem to have some abilities, don't I, in knowing what's going on in someone's head and what they're going to say next, don't I? So I save people the work and the time, and I summarise it myself, which will only trigger some people more, as in, how dare you speak on behalf of me? How dare you know exactly how predictable and boring I am? So I'm going to leave a comment on top of that and complain. Okay. Continue to engage, continue to grow and help the channel. The same thing you don't want to happen, but you engage with it, you hypocrite. Oh, I'm sorry. I've done the conversation again. I've spoken on behalf of what you were going to say and how you were going to act next. Too many steps ahead, because some humans are too predictable. Sometimes it bores me in terms of how predictable humans are. Let's put it that way. Anyway, that's problematic, people. What else do we have? So party host accountability needs to be taken in regard to that specifically. What about, for example, other names on the wrongful death lawsuit like Caleb Newton? Under the terms, conditions and labels, and based on the lack of hard evidence, and based on what Kaden Pressy stated of all people, the reasons for Caleb Newton, Jack Newton's father, being on the wrongful death lawsuit doesn't make much sense at all. And for that reason, Caleb shouldn't be a defendant. If there's another reason, a good enough reason, and hard evidence to claim and state he should be a defendant, then fair enough. But I've yet to see it. All I've seen before the wrongful death lawsuit was people randomly online claiming and stating and boldly labelling Caleb being involved, being at the party, doing stuff with girls, doing stuff questionable, covering up and all that. The wrongful death lawsuit doesn't go down that route, but what it does suggest is Caleb being present in some way, as in allowing Noah to use the side-by-side and being in ownership of it. That accident is separate from the death supposedly, but plays a role leading up from one thing to another, I guess, playing a role in it. But the problem is, Caleb, from what Kaden Pressy said, Kaden said Caleb was never there at the party. 100% certain Caleb was never there. So, if Caleb was never at the party, how could Noah reach out to Caleb, or the other way around, in order to ask permission to use the side-by-side, which Caleb supposedly owns? Verbal face-to-face communication wouldn't be possible when they probably live 40-45 minutes away from one another at that time. You know, where Noah was situated, where Caleb was at. Different places, different locations, and Kaden Pressy said Caleb was never at the party, 100% confident. That's got to say something, right? Because it's Kaden Pressy speaking. So it tells me people over there are going to ignore that and pretend that didn't happen. Because what Kaden Pressy says, indirectly, Kaden Pressy is defending Caleb Newton. But for the people that detest or don't like or don't trust Caleb and have it in for him, what would they do or say to Kaden, in which Kaden defends Caleb? People that support Kaden but don't like Caleb, and yet Kaden defends Caleb, how are the supporters going to react? You see the mess, the triangulation? A mess. Probably turn a blind eye, neglect it. Oh, never mind. Whatever. Really? Okay. So if Caleb wasn't there, based on the facts given and confidence by Kaden, then it would have to be more digital communication in which Noah calls Caleb up on the phone. Hey, could I use your side-by-side? Could I drive it right now? Do I have your permission? Whether it was agreed upon or not on that call, the simple reality is there should be hard evidence, right? There should be a digital call log from Noah's phone, Noah's end, or Caleb Newton's to say, here's a missed call, here's a call made, an outwards call, receiving a call, and any details from it or a transcript which can prove that a call was made in order for Noah to reach out and ask for permission, that is the only piece of hard evidence that would make it reasonable and understandable in the wrongful death lawsuit. But it didn't seem to acknowledge that, it didn't consider that, and we've not heard it mentioned any other time before. And as well, it had been mentioned that Jack Newton was the one that owned the side-by-side, so if it's not in Caleb's name and it's in Jack's name, why would Noah even have to reach out to Caleb to use it then? Shouldn't Noah reach out to Jack instead? So it would all fall on Jack then under those circumstances. If at the very least, if it all fell through and what Caleb Newton is accused of and it never applied to him, maybe it applies to Jack Newton at the least. Put it that way. As for Caleb, people can have their suspicions about him, fair enough, and opinions. But the wrongful death lawsuit, how it's worded and suggested, it just doesn't seem strong enough, in my opinion. So for those reasons, it doesn't make sense why Caleb is a defendant when he wasn't even at the party. There is a phone call log and permission is given for Noah to use the side-by-side, okay, fair enough. But we've not seen that and it's not being considered, it's not being acknowledged, nothing really. Even in the earlier days, before the wrongful death lawsuit, when it came to talking about Noah's phone and the family as well, they never acknowledged it about, oh yeah, we found a call log on it, we found something to do with Caleb. No. The only mention, what we've seen is Caleb at the scene picking up a tooth or pulling it out of his pocket. Whichever way it was worded, one sounds more suspicious than the other. Some people may roll with one over the other for that very reason. But if that was the case, interfering with the scene, interference, contamination, maybe in some way Caleb could be done for that. Maybe Jack Newton could be done for that. They may have had their reasons, but still contaminating. But then again, the police should have had the responsibility to say, don't touch this, don't touch that as well. It goes both ways, the responsibility. But I think in fairness, the wrongful death lawsuit is all the events following leading up to Noah's death and not what happened after the death, if I'm correct in saying. Well, if that's the case, it'd probably be a separate thing, the other stuff. Do I think that the wrongful death lawsuit is being done as a means of making money and suing people, a money-making program? In my opinion, and my opinion only, it doesn't make sense because whilst, okay, the reward money was or may still be $16,000 and some said that's not enough or that's all they can provide because they don't have much money. You could say, well, then the wrongful death lawsuit and suing and getting money is what can help and benefit them that way out of the death of Noah. But, as it was said online separately, Robin Smith did receive a promotion at some banking job. I think, was it loan officer or something of a higher rank, a higher order? And as you move up, you might get more salary. You can't question what people do with their money or how much they earn because that's rude, but interpreting it as you get a promotion at a job and you're successful, moving on up, maybe money isn't the absolute worry or it's not all motivated in that sense for the wrongful death lawsuit, but who knows how it goes. We've had the GoFundMe situation in the past. That was a messy time. You had Tiffany Shepherd in association with Justin Roy and the Army page at that time back then. And Tiffany Shepherd had a go at Noah's family, as in, why didn't you give credit or why didn't you give a shout out? And why did you act the way you did in response? As in, it was between Robin Smith and Tiffany Shepherd. I think, what was it, $4,000, $10,000, $8,000 was handed over. And it was done as an anonymous member, and they didn't thank Tiffany Shepherd. But I think common sense would tell you if someone is showing support as an anonymous member, anonymous donator, how on earth can you give them credit? How on earth can you reach through that screen and say, thank you for your support? Thank you for being present. Thank you for caring enough. If they are anonymous, they're doing it anonymously for a reason, but they can't expect acknowledgement directly either. They can't have it both ways, put it that way. You can say thank you and appreciate in general, but if a person is going to be anonymous, wherever, whatever, in real life, online, Being anonymous is protecting oneself, one's identity. They don't want to be too seen. They want to be in the background, so it's a bit more calm, relaxed, but still show that support, as in, I still care, I'm still here, I'm still present, but it's too soon, or I'm just not the type of person to have the spotlight on me. I want to do a good action. I want to show support. I want to be kind. I want to do all this and that. I want to change things. I want to improve stuff, but I don't need, or I don't want all the credit. I don't want all the attention. Okay, fair enough. But if they suddenly said, why aren't you thanking me? Why aren't you acknowledging me? Why aren't you giving me a shout out? Because you're doing it anonymously. You can't expect to be acknowledged for being anonymous when there's no name associated with the action. You know what I'm saying? Can't have it both ways. And Tiffany Shepherd, in some ways, demonstrated it that way. Put it this way, okay? If the wrongful death lawsuit was all about money making, explain to me why Robin Smith was willing to hand all that money back over. Whether it be $4,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $1,000, it's a lot of money, and Robin Smith was willing and ready to issue a refund to Tiffany Shepherd. And I know some people could say maybe it's not actually meant, it's just done that way to appear as taking the high ground, maintaining morale, maintaining pride and all of that, and it's not truly meant because they actually really want it or need it, who knows. But to consider ending something, to consider removing something, to consider refunding, kind of suggests that they don't actually really need it. They're not desperate for it. They're not going to take blood money. They're not going to take dirty money. If they were struggling, or partially, or maybe they're not, and it's a sign that they don't need it, they don't desperately need it, and they're willing to give it back if it causes too much trouble. You see, underlying actions there worth taking into consideration. So just my little thoughts on that. Once again, people should be having an absolute wet dream with what I've just said there, but I'm sure people still won't be pleased. I'm sure people say, well, you didn't answer my questions at the correct interval. You should have said it weeks ago, months ago. I'm sorry, there is a process and there are other things that need to be covered. I do it when I can and when possible, and that's why we're here. Okay? So I'm just having another conversation with invisible people that will eventually show up at some point. The resistance, specifically. Anyway, what else do we have? The affirmative defense. What do I think of that? Originally, I didn't know what affirmative defense was because when it comes to mysteries and true crime, the court stuff, the legal things, I don't focus too much on, or it doesn't always focus on that in general. Or it's not always playing a role. It's like the affirmative defense didn't exist in the Dylan Brown's case, and that's the only other true crime case I really covered. So it'd be a first time thing for me, so I'm not going to know. Simple as. You'll learn one way or find out somehow. And the affirmative defense by the defense team is a strategy put in place to be used as a counter argument to try and diminish the responsibilities on the defendants and shift the focus elsewhere as a bit of misdirection or trying to save oneself. You could say it's a bit manipulative, you could say it's strategical, but to the defense team, the one that's trying to protect the clients and do their job and earn their money, they have to, I guess. But what's the intent? What's the considerations by the defendants? They may not draft the absolute plan of an affirmative defense, but they may consider or play a role in accepting it or considering to use it at some point in the future. But notice, it's in the future. It's something that hasn't been used yet. And I think the problem is, other people, whether they knew about it or not, they associated what was said in the affirmative defense by Carter Combs, Jack Newton, Caleb as the truth, and as in what the defendants believe in, what's being used in the moment right now, instead of what's actually being considered to possibly be used in the future when it goes to court. People were treating a strategical method which is planned for the future possibly, as in used in the present right now or at the time of the wrongful death lawsuit and the responses. So people misinterpreted it. I wasn't to know because naturally I've never dealt with it before, so I think it's understandable for me, but for other people, yeah, different story, I think. But the affirmative defense from Carter Combs suggested that Noah Presgrove could be, or was, I'll try and word it from memory, as in how it was worded based on the affirmative defence, catacombs, that Noah Presgrove was an aggressor and agreed to mutual combat. So whatever came from it, if it escalated, if it led to death, Noah started it, it falls on Noah's hands. Noah's death is his responsibility. That's how you interpret the affirmative defence. And from Catacombs, I guess, legal team, it sounds quite cold, it sounds quite unfair and dark, but it's not being used in the moment. It's a suggestion in the future to be used as in, well, because Noah started it, whether he actually did or not, it can be used as an excuse, a countermeasure to point the direction, focus elsewhere. So the spotlight isn't all on that defendant, shifting the blame, shifting the responsibility elsewhere. But to be shifting the responsibility onto the victim is unfair when Noah isn't even here to defend himself. Unfortunately, that's how it can kind of go when it comes to protecting oneself. Could you say, if that was followed through with and considered the actions of loved ones, the actions of those that associated themselves with Noah and deemed themselves as best friends or close friends, would use that strategy, something like that, against the victim of all people? Does that still come across as a kind, caring person who cares a lot about Noah and wants justice, but will pin the responsibility on Noah, his own doing and outcome and downfall and death on him? Seems a bit dark in a way. It seems a bit contradictory in a way. Depends if it comes to that or not, the affirmative defence. It's not happened yet, so things could change later. Time will ultimately tell. And as for Jack Newton and Caleb, that was more along the lines of, well, Noah took the responsibility, had the responsibility to drink himself. That was on him. And then anything after that followed because of the alcohol, being drunk, going about, walking away, falls on Noah. So the beginning being the alcohol, getting drunk, causing the next action and chain reaction, and the responsibility in drinking falls on Noah's hands individually. So with that being the enabling factor and Noah doing it to himself, anything that happened after that kind of falls in his hands and responsibility. So once again, blaming the victim in a sense. There was a time, I think, where Sarah Long, not a defendant, not directly a part of the case, not a party goer, but sister to Stevie Howard, and Sarah Long at one point had suggested from their analogy and perspective, comparing it with, was it McDonald's or Burger King's or something, that what Noah Presgrove did, it's on him. Just like a person that eats fast food, McDonald's, and then gets fat or something, it's on them. Yeah, it's just a bit of a weird comparison in a way. Bit cold. And of all people that called out Sarah Long on that was Jack Newton's biological mother, Sarah Smith, I think they're called. That said, that's a bit harsh, that, to be considering that and using that analogy and example. So it just show that boundaries are set when things cross the line, even if it's by people on the dark side. They defend Noah. Doesn't get acknowledged enough, does it? No. Unfortunate. Anyway, moving on. Kaden Pressy, innocent. Well, we talked about that earlier. Innocent or not? I would say, in my opinion, Kaden Pressy isn't responsible for Noah's death. And if there was murder, if there was foul play, I would say Kaden Pressy isn't responsible for foul play either. I would say, in regard to the build-up to Noah Presgrove's death, based on what I know of, and in my opinion, Kaden Pressy is 100% innocent. If he's asleep, and he's sleeping for it. He's not going to know, he's not going to be present, he's not going to be able to do anything. But is Kaden Pressy innocent of keeping a very accurate recount of stories and events? Absolutely not. Does it make him guilty, suspicious, or a bad person? No. But it does show indiscrepancies with what we've looked at. So let's just make that clear. But is Alicia innocent or not? That's unknown of. There are grey areas there. One of the reasons as to why Kaden Pressy, his credibility has been tainted and more people have questioned and turned on Kaden in some ways, isn't all down to Kaden. It's also down, or more so down, to what Alicia has done and how Alicia has presented herself, the mother to Kaden. The way Alicia had shared Kaden's private police interview with strangers online, it backfired and those strangers passed it on to others and then it was leaked. Alicia should never have shared it with anyone, especially online. It may have not been done with the intent or the outcome of what was to follow up next. They had no idea that it was going to go that way, and if they did, they probably wouldn't have done it. But nevertheless, their recklessness costed their son's credibility. Simple as. And then all the other times where Kaden had said something and then Alicia spoke out, whether that be in the never seen before, well, never publicly released Partners in True Crime interview, or elsewhere on Facebook Messenger, what Alicia had said half the time is a complete opposite of what Kaden had said. Proof and evidence of that, Kaden Pressy, in his own words, in the never released, never seen before original Facebook Messengers of 2023, Kaden had said, "I wish my mom, my father, would cut it out and stop over talking and speaking for me. It doesn't help." And even Kaden going as far as saying, "Oh, my mom's twisting my words." Isn't that not enough proof for some out there that look up to Kaden and see what he says as the truth? If Kaden Pressy says that my mom is twisting my words, that's not good, is it? When Kaden Pressy says, "I wish my mother and father would stop jumping in and talking, they're not helping, not doing much good," shows that there is that internal conflict, that how Kaden Pressy is perceived by the public, at times in negative ways, at times is directly caused by the actions of the parents. They don't do much good. They might be doing it because they care and they're supportive and all that, yeah. But sometimes when you feel you're doing good, you're actually doing more worse. When you think you're fixing things, you're actually creating more problems. So that's not helped Kaden. So Kaden may be innocent in terms of the case. Kaden likely is innocent. In my opinion, Kaden is innocent in regards to Noah's death and the outcome. But Kaden Pressy isn't innocent whatsoever when it comes to keeping a very accurate account of what happened and all of that. Okay? In some ways, Kaden had lied, in a way. If Kaden was to say or to show that he did something or was somewhere at some time and then later, years on, he said, "I think it was a different day, I believe it was a different day," that's not lying, that's just confusion. When you say "I think" or "I remember it was something else," you're giving an opinion, you're giving a form of uncertainty, and with uncertainty, you're not confident. And normally when people lie, people are confident in lying because they know what was said before, they now know what they have to say next, and it has to be different to save themselves or to maintain what was originally said, even if it's not true. Confidence, alert and aware. When a person isn't alert or aware or a bit confused, not quite there with it, they're not lying because they're not functioning properly. They're not manipulative, they're confused. That's different, that's innocent. But a time where Kaden, you could say, had lied, would be when it came to recounting Noah wanting a ride home. Kaden originally stated on my channel live premiere that he saw Noah reaching out to many different partygoers for a ride home. Weeks, months later, Kaden Pressy responded and said, "Well, no, I didn't see it happen. I didn't see who Noah actually talked to or reached out to. I only heard it with my ears." So how do you go from seeing it with your eyes firsthand to then saying, "I never saw it, I only heard it"? That's a lie. That is a lie. From the surface level, at least. People say, that's not fair. Neither is lying. That's not fair, is it? So, what else? 911 calls, my opinions on that. Well, Partners in True Crime have been pushing it recently that there is a never released call which was put into dispatch. A third, well, not a third, because the third caller being Tyler Hardy, the first caller being Tyler Hoodman. Who's the second caller? Well, I would say it's Tyler Hardy. When he tried calling the first time round, it was static, it didn't work, and it was even acknowledged online, and it was acknowledged in interviews or articles and papers, so what's the big deal there? If you used to say there was a second caller, The unreleased one, well, that would be Tyler Hardy, and probably not released because if it's static, there's not much that comes from it. There's no call, there's no communication or dialogue, so what's the point releasing it if it's just static, a failed call? Doesn't make much sense, does it? If people were to say, oh no, but there was another call, there was another one, was there? Well, I've never heard it, we've never heard it, how do you know? How do you know then? Yeah, it opens up more questions, doesn't it? Beside that, if there was another call on top of another call, that means there would be 4 calls made, but there's only ever been worded as 3 calls. Tyler Hudman, Tyler Hardy, first attempt failed, second attempt, which is the third and final call, successful. People would be going against and contradicting themselves then, wouldn't they? If you believe that there is another call and it's never been released, and you don't acknowledge it as Tyler Hardy, you shouldn't word it as 3 calls and you should word it as 4 calls, right? People don't. So I don't think people really know what they're talking about. Moving on. Jack Newton, Noah dead at 4 a.m. Not been talked about since. Critical, important, of course. Now, if Justin had remembered and listened, I did videos in the past where I said, with the limited context and screenshots, based on what Jack said, the time of when Noah passed away, for Jack to know the time would mean he would have to be there to check the time, to be present to see Noah's final breath. Unless he was told it by someone, but the screenshots didn't show that. Unless the context is lacking, the screenshots have been cropped, or if you used to scroll up in the conversation before Jack saying Noah was dead at 4 a.m, Jack may have said, well, actually, I was told by, Anthony Linares, I was told by Zachary Wright that this is the estimated time of death. Either way, whatever Jack Newton said, it wasn't good enough to be included in the autopsy report because the time of death is unknown. So you could say maybe Jack made it up. Well, put it this way. Whoever had the conversation with Jack and it was brought up about that time, if it wasn't mentioned in the autopsy report, does the police know about it? If Jack is the one to know about it, and only Jack, the person that was in conversation with Jack at the time, did they actually hand that screenshot in or send it to police, and what was done then about it? Was anything done? Any action taken? Because I just feel that there is context lacking with what Jack Newton said. How he worded it, Noah dead or passed away at 4 a.m, sounds like a statement. If it's not the truth or it's not a fact, it's reckless language and wording. It does no good, does it? But I just feel it's a context, as in there was something said before that following up to Jack stating it that way. But the screenshot only showed part of the conversation, not the whole. Not what was said earlier, not what was said later. So it's making me think, did someone screenshot a conversation, crop it down so it suits a certain narrative and it makes Jack look bad? And whoever that person was that took the screenshot of Jack Newton saying that Noah dead at 4 a.m, is that the same person that did the same to me with that transcript, in which they couldn't be bothered to screenshot the full transcript where it gave the full clarity with the Melissa LeQuay situation, but they thought they would roll with part of the story, half of the story, so it paints someone in a bad way, so their own fantasies, their own obsessions and compulsions and narrative can be pushed because there is false evidence without context that supports it when the full context goes against what their beliefs are. Not good, is it? Not good at all. And you know, the thing is, we haven't even got to the main part today of this video. We're 1 hour 38 minutes in. We haven't even got to the main part yet. Okay, so just as a heads up. Now we transition on to the golf clubs. We transition on to a post about Kaden Pressy, possibly if there's time. We'll see. Other screenshots as well. This is where we transition on to the visual aspect. Read from it, react, and then I'll give you my closing thoughts. Don't go anywhere. Starting off first, this is from a different page, probably the Army page. Justin Roy responding to Shannon Scott. We'll zoom in. Unfortunately, it's a very long one, so I'll try and read it quick. To me, personally, it's crazy how everyone attacks Kaden Pressy. Justin Roy, you do realise just by stating everyone attacks Kaden Pressy, you're involving yourself and Shannon Scott. When you use the word everyone, that means 100% of humans. What you're basically saying, Justin, is everyone in the Noah Presgrove Case community is attacking Kaden Pressy. When you say everyone, you're basically admitting, Justin, that you're attacking Kaden as well. You, Justin, are admitting that Shannon Scott is attacking Kaden Pressy. You, Justin, are admitting that the whole of Noah Presgrove's family is attacking Kaden Pressy. You know what Justin would say to that? You're vindictive. You're twisting my words. How dare you? No, Justin, I'm not twisting anything. I'm not putting any words into your mouth. You're doing it yourself. Stop using reckless language, Justin. Get a grip of yourself. Be realistic. Are you using reckless language? You are. To say everyone is attacking Kaden Pressy, you're basically admitting that you're doing it as well. How incompetent can you get? You know what you should have said, Justin? Is, to me, it's crazy how a variety of people are attacking Kaden. Or it's crazy how a handful of people are going after Kaden. Not everyone. When you say everyone, you're including yourself. How incompetent can you get? Oh my goodness, that's one of the most reckless lines of the year. And it's not even come to the end. Oh no, Justin, what have you done? What have you done? You've dug yourself into a massive hole there. Anyway, Kaden, the only party girl to come out and tell part of his side of the story. Yeah, and Jasmine Millan came out long before Kaden Pressy did and admitted that there was murder. But she doesn't get any flowers. Jasmine Millan doesn't get told that she's brave or strong for speaking out, but Kaden does, later. Selective. Let's move on. He had to go to OHP multiple times to even get interviewed. He even offered OHP his cell phone and they did not take it. Justin, you do realise, whilst Kaden said they did not take it, Alicia had stated that they did take it. Are you aware of that? Also, he's not even listed on the wrongful death lawsuit. Okay, well obviously, yeah. So why in the world do all these people attack him and Alicia all the time? Why do all these people attack Kaden and Alicia? Well, the same question could be asked, why does Kaden and Alicia come out with such discrepancies all the time, supposedly? You know, questioning someone doesn't have to be because the person's innocent or guilty. It can be simply because there are unanswered questions and things don't quite add up. It's a mystery at the end of the day, and people want the mystery solved besides the case, the things that go along it. If you don't see that, Justin, you really are a lost cause. Beyond. Truly. We've got some key words coming up. There's so much manipulation, gaslighting, lying and harassment, it's ridiculous. So explain to me, Justin, why you are still on my channel after saying that you're done after the 5th time, constantly harassing my channel. And before you say, Justin, well, you keep bringing my name up, it's because you keep putting your foot in the door of the case. So whatever's a part of the case will be covered and analysed. If you insert yourself in the case, Justin, then you will be covered. Simple as. It's your own doing. If you don't like it, don't insert yourself into the case. You got a choice, Justin. You have a choice, but you never choose the right option, do you? Or should I say, at times, you don't always pick the right option. Manipulation and gaslighting. Maybe some people could use those words themselves towards others. I have always stated, I think the party goes no more. Good for you. And a few know exactly what happened to Noah and should have told the truth by now. For now on, well, let's just see. I think party goers no more. You think, so you're not confident, Justin. It's an opinion. And then you also say, and a few people know exactly what happened. How do you go from saying, I think party goers no more, and I know? Well, it's not even I know, it's just and as a statement. Some party goers know what happened. You can't have both at the same time. You think they know, but you don't know for certain. but you state it as a fact that some do know what happened. How do you know what happened if you don't know what really happened to begin with? How do you know people are covering some things up when you're basing it off what you think that they may know more? What you think is different to what you know. What you claim, what you think isn't the fact, the absolute fact. You can't start with an opinion and end it with a statement. You incompetent plank, Justin. What are you doing? This language and wording is not good for the case. This is one of the worst comments I've read in a long time. There are so many mistakes, so many errors with language and wording. It is dreadful. It's horrific. It's abysmal. It's an abomination. What is going on? Moving on. For now on, I think. So you're starting it with I think, not that you know of. So really, this is just an opinion. It's subjective, meaning to some people it would be irrelevant. But let's just see what Justin is going to say. I think every time George Choden, Tim Daniel, Mike, or any of them that bring up Kaden Pressy or my nephews or anyone else, let's all remind them that they are not listed on the wrongful death lawsuit, and OHP didn't even want to interview them. Several partygoers, including my nephews, still have not been interviewed. Okay. I don't think, Justin, that's how it's going to go. I think what's going to happen isn't that passive, peaceful approach. It's going to be insults and, lines and labels and criticisms and attacks and verbal assaults on people, isn't it? If someone questions Kaden for genuine reason, you or others are going to say vindictive, lying, manipulating, horrible person, bad person, paid off, right? Like how it's been demonstrated previous. You know what I'm saying? This whole idea of, let's just remind them that they're not listed on wrongful death lawsuit. Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. And that's a peaceful approach. It's a shame, Justin, you didn't follow that approach at the start, the beginning. It would have been a lot better, wouldn't it, both sides? How are you going to solve the puzzle without all the pieces? Well, you asked me, Justin, because it was Anthony Linares that actually said that to you on the phone. Said it to Kaden on the phone about you. Oh, no! This is a disaster! Everyone right now, as a witness, surely you remember this. I think we might need to work with this particular comment for a few videos onwards, both with some other points as well. Oh no, no. Let's just see. Is there anything else that is worded? It doesn't seem to be. This is the worst thing I have seen out there. Justin, of all people, saying, how are you going to solve the puzzle without all of the pieces? Anthony Linares on the phone with Kaden Pressy, and it's documented and recorded, and I've got it on my channel, and I will show it to show that proof. Anthony Linares had said, we got this guy Justin constantly calling on in. He's got 2 pieces out of a 5-piece jigsaw puzzle. How does he expect for it to be completed? One of the pieces that he has wasn't even true, and it was downplayed or countered, debunked. Justin, the lines and words that you're saying and questioning are the same lines what people said to you. Oh no, this is disastrous. Could it get any worse? Oh, it can. Anyway, Tracy Gann, personally, I think they have manipulated you, in my opinion. I left the case discussion page and blocked all of them. It's been very nice. Wait, Justin, you left a case discussion page and you blocked those people and it's been very nice since. So why don't you do the same to my channel then? Why have you not left my channel? If the case discussion still talks about you, Justin, and goes on and so on, how come you don't go back to it, but you keep coming back to me like a lost dog? I'm sorry, what's going on? I'm not your owner. I don't own you. So why do you keep coming back? You won't go back to other places, but you will here. You'll block other people, but you won't block me on certain platforms. This is really interesting, this. I think psychologically there's a really deep bond. There's a really deep, unusual connection going on here. one of the most interesting things that I've seen in quite a while. Not something that I want to happen, but this is really interesting. I want to know people's thoughts and opinions on this, because I think this does run a lot deeper internally within the mind, more so the subconscious and unconscious mind. I think there is a lot more going on here based on the behaviour and patterns, you know. I will give one example later, a serious one. So, what else do we have? Case discussion page is full of lies, misinformation, manipulation because they have the most to lose. They are listed on the wrongful death lawsuit for a reason. They. Wait. Justin's poor language and wording implies that the case discussion page is full of misinformation. They have the most to lose because they're the ones on the wrongful death lawsuit. They. Collective term. So Justin is basically saying anyone on the case discussion page is a part of the wrongful death lawsuit, meaning the likes of Joyce Bergow, Tim Daniel, BBC, Laura Dutton, and everyone else is a part of the wrongful death lawsuit, because that's what Justin states here. Because he said the case discussion page is full of lies and that they are listed on the wrongful death lawsuit for a reason. Oh no, Justin, you've done it again. You have done it again. What is going on? This is a catastrophe. This is straight out of the guidebook of incompetence with language and wording. I can't believe this. This is out of this world. This is out of the galaxy, out of the stratosphere, in the most reckless language I have ever seen in my entire life on this platform. This is worse than when a ginger-haired woman who was off their medication and falsely accused me of doxing their ginger cat. This takes the biscuit. This takes the catnip. My goodness. Does anyone else agree? Let's move on. Think about this. Why would the hire an accident... What's this? Think about this. Why would the hire an accident reconstruction specialist? You mean they? Oh, Justin, can't even spell. Why hire 4 PIs? 4 now? I'm sure previously, Justin, you said 3 private investigators, because that's what the family told you. You passed the message on, and then Noah's family went against you and said you were spreading misinformation. And you, Justin, had the proof and evidence which you showed to me that the family had originally stated there was more than 1 or more than 2. So at that time, Justin, you were telling the truth. And yet Noah's family went against you. This is what I mean. Even though Justin can be a complete incompetent tool, I can still defend him when necessary. And that's a prime example. What Justin shared with me in the past, a screenshot of what Noah's family had said originally, what Justin had reshared, and how he was called out for it, and yet the family said what Justin said. Why? But here, 4 private investigators, well, I don't remember it being 4, but 3. Anyway, why create multiple fake accounts and inbox people to sway their opinions? You do realise, supposedly Vanessa Salazar just so happened to do that when communicating with Stephanie Millan to get answers instead of showing one's actual face, and you were okay with that. No resistance there, at least. Why bring in an ex-prosecutor to sway people's opinions? Innocent people do not do this. I do not know how Noah died that morning, but I will tell you foul play is definitely involved. If you don't know how Noah died, how do you know that there is murder then? Because there is foul play. But to be honest, if you know that there is foul play, you know that there is murder, so technically you know how Noah died. Not the specifics, but you know how he died. The basics of knowing how someone died would be, is it self-inflicted? Is it accident? Is it murder? Is it manslaughter? Oops, get rid of that. Get off the screen, you twat. Does that make sense? So Justin says he knows foul play, but he doesn't know how Noah died. I think Justin has worded it wrong, because how he's worded it here makes it sound like he doesn't really know what he's talking about. That turns everything upside down. This is crazy. What else? Social hosting party with minors weapons and it caused Noah's death. Well, did the weapons cause Noah's death, though? Did the minors cause Noah's death, or just the... Because do we actually know who's actually responsible? This is very reckless language again. They can charge that right now. You should be asking, why is that not charged? Last thing, at my protection order hearing, Tracy, I saw exactly how vindictive and vile these people really are. When you take an oath and look right at the judge and lie, it shows exactly who you are, and that's what they did. It was sickening, and I feel so sorry for Noah's family, because they people are going to lie and play the innocent victim role. Watch and see. Yeah. No words. But someone still has words, as in just recently, Justin Roy has continued to harass me on my channel after saying he wasn't going to come back for the 5th or 6th time. He's back again, demanding answers, when possibly he's not in a position to get them. Justin demanded, so who sent you this message, Warlight Ref, to cover from Comanche Police Department? And do they always post about missing items? Or was this golf club scenario posted from Comanche just to cause reasonable doubt? So I ask you, Warlight Ref, who sent this to you for you to cover, and why? Oh, and no, they are not Dalen's golf clubs and not the same ones from the party. But I find it very interesting on who posted this and the timing of it and who they're connected to. It's time to wake up, people, and look at what's really going on. Warlight Ref, who sent you that statement? Oh boy. More harassment. So, do you just have people comment on your YouTube video so you can make a video out of it? If so, you are a very sick person. Right. Also, didn't you do several videos that Noah's mom had them or someone else had them as in the clubs? No, Comanche Police Department does not have Dalen's golf clubs. They're still missing. And don't you think they would ask Dalen if they're his? You are part of the rumour problem. You will do anything to get money. Right. In response, Dave had said, I'll ask again, Justin, if you can't stand Warlight Raf, why do you keep coming back? How many last words have you declared and had since the last dozen last word comments? And more importantly, how does your sniping at Warlight Raf help solve Noah's case? Well said. June. Actually, Justin, I believe he is making way less money sticking to 1 or 2 cases as he does. If Warlight Raf went along with the most other YouTubers and reported on cases that are extremely popular, he would at the very least double his money. But as you can see, he goes above and beyond to get the facts others don't on this case. Okay. Do we have any more? Oh yeah. Justin responds to June. The fact is that he's making any money off Noah's case is sickening. He's a flip-flopping liar and manipulating person to the highest bidder. It's actually disgusting. Ask him who is sending him information to cover and why. Ask him, ask him you sent this information to cause reasonable doubt, and you'll have your answer. What? What Michael Faizkaz said here in 2024 is a very good point. The quote being, when the strength of one's argument falters, they often resort to attacking the person instead of the point, revealing not the weakness of their opponent, but the weakness of their own position. No matter how hard they come after you, do not falter, do not cower, do not accept defeat. They are weak, they are scared, they do not stand a chance against an army of like-minded, good-hearted individuals seeking the truth and justice. Well said, Michael. That's exactly true, Michael Faizkaz. What you said there basically represents Justin Roy. Yeah. That when the strengths of one's arguments falters, such as Justin Roy's silly points and reckless claims, they often resort to attacking the person. And that's exactly what Justin did, saying it's disgusting, you're sick, he's a flip-flopper, he's a liar, he's a manipulator. What Michael is describing here is exactly what Justin is demonstrating right now. You can see this in motion. This is live action. This is pure cinema. This is witnessed live in the moment as a pre-recorded live premiere. Anyone watching right now, you see this behaviour by Justin and you see what Michael Faizkaz was describing back in 2024. Exactly. So, basically, what Justin is doing is revealing the weakness of their own position. And no matter how hard Justin comes after me, I best not falter, I do not cower, and I don't accept defeat. They are weak. They are scared. They do not stand a chance against an army of like-minded, good-hearted individuals, whilst the darkness here says what they says and gives out lots of labels to damage my credibility, my brand, my channel. I will not yield. I will not falter. I am a winner. Bit exaggerated that. But do you see? Do you see on screen? This is exactly what's going on. And no, I am not finished with you. We need to refer back to some of the comments by Justin, which are very, very, very questionable. Okay? So first of all, Justin demanding, roughly in quotes, who sent this message? What I presented in my video wasn't a message. It was a screenshot of Comanche Police Department, their Facebook account, based on what they posted back in December 11th, 2025. A screenshot is different to a message. Get it right, Justin. And in regard to Comanche Police Department, what they said, it wasn't a message, it was a post. A message can be one-on-one and private. A post is outwards and public on a platform. Get it right, Justin. Okay? And to say why. Why was it done? Why was it sent? Why was it shared? Well, first of all, a member of the general public remembered it themselves and they witnessed it, what they saw on Facebook. They got a hold of it, they shared it, and I did a video. That's it. Not that deep. You want to know identities, you want to know names. Why? So you can harass them, insult them, label them. You can attack me. You can label me. You can whine about me, but the other people don't deserve it. Okay? Let's put it like that. As in, why? Simple. The golf clubs are a mystery. The golf clubs are missing. The video that I did, which you supposedly watched, I gave 2 different points and even said early on at the start of the video, could it simply be a random set of clubs and it's just a coincidence? That's it. It's got no link to Noah. But what if it does? How would we know? What are the possibilities? Justin, if you spent more time looking at the screen and less time in the comment section of my videos, you might learn a thing or two. Can you do that? Probably not. Can you learn and change to become a better person? Likely not. Because enough time has passed by now for you to change your ways to see the light. And all that's been shown is plummeting into the darkness. Okay? I have seen the devil at such a young age in the woodland, and what I'm seeing nowadays within life is what I saw back then in full form doesn't compare to what I'm seeing in present time amongst humans that appear to be disguised as humans. This seems like some kind of demonic warfare going on. What's happening to humans? Why are people so corrupted in their minds with their labels and jumping to conclusions, their erratic behaviour, their change-ups, their behavioural traits, their inner self being shown and not always the light? Some people mask themselves in the light. Some people stand behind a Lord. Some people look up or wear a cross. Some people are genuine and very good, and other people use it as a disguise to mask and hide their darkness. And I'm just wondering, are there some, what would you call it, wolves in sheep's clothing? The Dylan Rounds case had many wolves in sheep's clothing. I saw it straight through. When I saw the, was it Black Widow? Is that what you call it? The spider? I saw it, no one else did. And it happened. And they showed their true colours. To some, I'm the fallen angel. To others, I'm the purest of the purest. That's not what I say. It's the titles and the descriptions what other people give me. You look back at my channel, you will see the comments and the proof. It's not what I say, it's how people think of me and how people see me. Another person once said, from a side profile, I look like a Greek god. Regardless, I appreciate all the compliments and the positive comments by people. It does mean a lot. To me, I'm just a person, but I am someone that can see through humans, good or bad. And I'm seeing a lot with time, okay? The video that I did on the golf clubs was to suggest what may have been found or what may have not been. It was to start discussions, and that's it. Justin failed to understand that and wondered why was it done. Why was it done? My video explains why it was done. Clearly, you did not watch. Your selective hearing took over. Your emotional driven biasness kicked in, and you chose not to listen, but only listen to the things that you wanted to listen to. How can you have a conversation with a person like that? You can't. Next thing, not the same clubs, not from the party. How do you know, Justin? Have you seen the golf clubs? Have you seen Dalen's golf clubs, the photos? Have you been able to compare Dalen's clubs to the ones handed into Comanche Police Department? Because from your reaction, you've never seen this before, and that's why you're questioning as to why it's being posted and what's the purpose behind it. So if you don't know about it, you've not heard about it before, if you haven't heard about it and you don't know about it, then you don't know what the clubs are, who they belong to, what they look like. So how on earth can you say that they're not Dalen's or that there are Dalen's? It's a mystery, is it not? You've not thought that one through, Justin. Your language and wording, once again, you're severely messed up. I know you might use a counterpoint, emotional language, emotional behaviour and all that to try and make me look bad or make me feel sad, but it's not going to work. That psychological warfare, seriously, it's not going to work, because I have come across a variety of humans with time. I came across an American psychopath from Virginia back in 2016, 2017, known as Ali. Not AliExpress, but they were just simply called Ali. They were cold, they were dark, and they had 2 boyfriends at the same time from where they were. I was simply friends with them. And what did Ali do? They were cold, psychopath-like behaviour. I chose to self-respect. I would not allow it anymore. The disrespect, the silence from them, their coldness. And what did they do? They came back on their knees begging under an alternative account, saying, please, please, you know, my behaviour, my depression, it's what causes all my memory loss. It's not my fault if I've done anything bad. I can't apologise for what I've previously done if I can't remember it. Oh, really, Ali? So basically you can abuse me, you can manipulate me, you could physically harm me, you could slit my throat and forget about it and say, oh, it's your depression, it's your mental health, so it excuses your abuse. Really? So certain mental health can excuse abuse towards others. I am not going to allow that to happen. I saw straight through that at the time. I was not going to allow a psychopath to try and use that emotional manipulation on me to try and break me down. No, no. So when it came to Cleo in their behaviour in 2022 onwards, emotional manipulation again, it's not going to work. These people trying it on with me, how dare you? Okay? Cretin-like peasants. Not good. But in regard to Justin Roy, with what's said here, do you have people comment to make videos out of them? You sick person. That's what he said to me, and you saw it yourself. Do I have people leave comments to make videos out of? You do realise people leave comments because they want to or don't. And you do realise, Justin, in more recent time, not many people leave comments anyway. So what are you on about? Yeah, I don't think you've been following it, have you? And furthermore, the comments are as a means of complementing what's being talked about. So if I was doing some coverage and then there was a comment which gave an update or clarification on what was being talked about at hand, what do you want to happen, Justin? You want it to be neglected, not included, not a part of the update, just left out? You make no sense whatsoever Comments can be opinions and thoughts and add-ons and additions and updates by other people. It's what complements the videos and how my videos and platform complements people in giving them a voice to respond back. The same way as you do, Justin, there's freedom of speech on my channel, so stop yapping and whining and get a grip of yourself, okay? Sam, next one. Didn't you do several videos that Noah Presgrove's mom had the golf clubs or someone else? Well, Justin, you tell me, because you seem to be the serial expert in monitoring my channel. Oh, but wait again. What language did you use, Justin? You said, Raf, didn't you do this? Didn't I? Oh, so you don't know. By saying, didn't you do that with question marks implies a question. It is a question. When you ask a question, it's because you don't know the answers. So why on earth are you saying it in the first place in that tone of voice? You're not even confident in your own ability. You're not even confident in what you say. You think that's what happened. You think that's what I said. But it's not, is it? Oh, Justin. Oh, Justin. Over 530 videos and you still fail after all this time. What are you doing, Justin? What are you doing besides breathing in oxygen and exhaling out whininess? If you're going to make points or claims or observations, at least do it accurately, or at least use appropriate language and wording. It's really disappointing, Justin. You're much older, you've got more experience in life, and yet how you present yourself, it doesn't show that well. I'm really disappointed in you, Justin. My disappointment is beyond immeasurable with you and other humans as well. Within this life, within this world, very disappointed. Okay? I think what you need to do, Justin, is take a few lines out of Michael Face's book and his quotes. You might learn a thing or two from Michael in some ways. Beside that, Justin said, don't you think Ellie would have asked Dalen about the clubs? Well, Justin, don't you think Ellie would have told Noah's family about more things which we question, as in, are the family really being told everything, or are the LE, the corrupt ones, hiding things? Why would the LE, if they're supposedly corrupt or paid off, something that you may have suggested at one point or considered from the eyes and lenses of other people, if the LE are so corrupt, why would they consider handing those clubs back? You know? Under that argument, that point what you put across, if they're corrupt, if they're dodgy, why would they consider reaching out to Dalen about them? If they may have been used, why not keep them quiet, hide them? But then what about the public post? Doesn't that contradict it all? Well, as the general sphere, you could say that, but between the dialogue with what Justin says as a counterpoint towards me, it's worth taking into consideration. Humans, language and wording, once again. Anyway, Justin said, we'll do anything to get money. Really? So, is there any proof and evidence of Warlike Raf lap dancing on someone? No. Is there any proof or evidence of Warlike Raf decapitating his head, shaving his head to get money? No. So clearly, one doesn't do anything for money, do they? So it's a reckless statement by Justin once again. And then Justin says that Warlike Raf is a flip-flopper manipulator to the highest bidder. So explain to me, Justin, that at a time in the past, in that private conversation on Facebook, when you said to me, oh, I feel kind of awkward about supporting your channel, Raf. I feel kind of awkward about giving you money because it's kind of early on in the case, early days, and just the way things are, it just feels wrong, or it feels a bit unusual, me giving you money, Raf. I've not forgotten, Justin. I know you might be a bit of a tight arse in terms of supporting people, but guess what? When I wasn't supported, when I wasn't paid off, as you claim, what did I do? From June 1st, 2024 to what, February 2025? I covered it from your perspective, Justin. I covered it from the Army page. I gave credit to the Army page and the material on there. Did I get paid off? No. But did I follow through with it? Yeah. So if I wasn't paid for doing it, but I did it, how does it link to your point about turning to the highest bidder? And ever since, I've returned back to the murder aspect, to the foul play aspect. Was I paid for that? No. Was I drowned and bathed in donations? No. The countless constant times when I defended you, Justin, when your back was against the wall or when you messed up yourself because of your own reckless, incompetent language and I still defended you, did I do it free of charge? Yeah. I've been your psychologist and it was free of charge. I have been other people's psychologists and it's been free of charge. And humans don't even give credit to that. You know, the reality is in life, when you have a repair individual, when you have a watchmaker or an individual that's good at repairing watches, pocket watches, you know what they have to do? They have to inspect the item, find the problem, check what functions and what doesn't, and reverse engineer, which means breaking it down piece by piece, unscrewing those loose nuts and bolts, spreading it out, opening it up to its internal core to see what's the real problem deep inside that watch. When aligning it all together, figuring it out, doing the repairs which are necessary to heal it, so it ticks again, piecing it all back together in the correct order so it actually works and functions, and then it's right as rain. If you're the watchmaker, the watch repairer, you knows what functions, you knows what doesn't. Because you had to break it down in order to fix it back up, you know what fixes it, you know what breaks it. Psychologically, I don't think humans understand exactly. I think we will leave it there, don't you? For everyone else, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it somewhat important and interesting. Be sure to share the video if you'd like. Hit the thumbs up, the like button as well. Spread the awareness. If you're on mobile tablet device, be sure to consider hitting the hype button, the star, so the video gets pushed out there. The awareness of what we've dealt with today, the awareness of some harassment and obsession still to this day, and much more. Full playlist, top right corner. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time. My name's Wallach Raff. Goodbye. Good night for now.